All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
It's good to be back.
So today we are going way back in time for this one.
Okay.
We're going medieval, but we're not talking about knights and armor and things like that.
No swords.
No swords.
Okay.
We're going to be diving into the world of a medieval potter's apprentice named Samuel.
Interesting.
And what's so interesting about Samuel's story is it holds a really valuable lesson for all of us about learning and mastery.
Okay, I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, so let's set the scene here.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine you're in this bustling medieval town, the sights, the sounds, there's fresh bread baking and spices and all that.
Yeah, I can almost smell it.
Yeah, and amid all of that, you've got poor Samuel hunched over his potter's wheel, and he's just sweating over his kiln, staring at another cracked pot.
Oh, that's got to be so discouraging.
Totally. And, he's on the verge of getting kicked out of the apprenticeship because his work is just not up to par.
Oh, wow.
The thing is, though, he's putting in more hours than any of the other apprentices.
That's interesting. So it's not a lack of effort, then?
Right. It's a classic case of working harder, not smarter.
Okay. So where does the mastery part come in?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Samuel stumbles upon a solution in the most unlikely place.
Okay.
He's feeling totally defeated, and he's moping around the marketplace.
Uh-huh.
And he comes across this old storyteller who's teaching a young boy.
Okay.
And what catches Samuel's eye is the storyteller's method.
Okay, I'm curious. Tell me more.
So the storyteller is breaking down these complex, epic tales into these smaller bite-sized pieces.
Okay.
And the boy is practicing each little part and really getting to understand the meaning of it.
Right.
And then he gradually builds back up to telling the whole story.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a building block approach.
Exactly. And this is Samuel's light bulb moment.
Ah.
He's like, wait a minute. What if I apply this to my pottery?
That's pretty insightful. I mean, seeing that connection between storytelling and pottery, that's...
Yeah, it is. It is. And it actually highlights something really crucial about learning in general.
What's that?
Our brains, they're wired to make connections between seemingly unrelated things.
That's true.
Our minds are constantly looking for patterns and analogies, and that's how we learn.
I see. So Samuel's insight was that he could break down a complex skill like pottery into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. And that would allow him to really focus his attention and practice in a much more deliberate way.
I like that deliberate practice.
Yeah. So instead of, just frantically trying to make entire pots from start to finish, he starts dedicating specific time to each stage of the process.
Okay, break it down.
Yeah. So, wedging the clay,
Yeah.
centering it on the wheel, pulling up the walls.
Yeah.
Really focusing on each element and reflecting on how he can improve.
That makes sense.
And this leads him to develop these 5 incredible principles that he actually carves onto a little wooden tablet.
Wow, a medieval potter's cheat sheet.
Kind of. But they're not just, dry instructions. They're like these poetic insights into the craft of pottery.
I love that. Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so one of them is clay must be wedged until it moves like a sleeping cat.
Okay, now that's beautiful and insightful.
Right.
It's not just about the technique. It's about understanding the feel of the clay.
Exactly. And it gets you thinking, how can we apply this principle to other skills?
Like what?
Like, let's say you're learning to code.
Okay, yeah.
Could you break down the process into these smaller steps, almost like wedging the clay?
I see.
Until you achieve that same level of fluency and control over the language.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. I like that a lot.
So another one of Samuel's principles is the potter's paws shapes more than his hands ever will.
There's so much wisdom in that.
I know.
It's not just about taking a break. It's about observation, reflection, thinking about what you're doing.
And it applies to anything. It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once. Yeah. But for any skill.
Exactly. It reminds me of debugging code.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just rush through it. You have to stop, look for errors, think how to optimize it.
Right. And with this methodical approach, this breaking things down, it actually led to Samuel making fewer pots.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less is more. But each one was a masterpiece.
Wow. So quality over quantity.
Exactly. His master Marcus even says, each one sings with perfection.
That's a great compliment.
I know. And it really speaks to the idea of deliberate practice,
Yeah.
where the focus is on quality over quantity.
Right.
By slowing down and concentrating on each step, Samuel moved beyond just going through the motions.
He was developing a deeper understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's really understanding the art of his craft.
That's powerful.
It is. So for anyone listening who's trying to master a skill, whether it's, playing an instrument or writing or coding.
Anything, really.
Think about what are the core principles of your craft.
Yeah.
Could you, like Samuel, articulate them
Yeah.
in a way that captures both the technique and the deeper understanding?
That's a great challenge. I think we should all try that.
I think so, too. And remember Samuel's final inscription on his little wooden tablet.
What's that?
He wrote, "The vessel that carries wisdom is shaped by understanding, not by speed."
That's profound. It really makes you think.
It does. In our fast-paced world, we're always rushing. We're always trying to get things done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, efficiency is the name of the game.
Right. But are we sacrificing depth of understanding for the sake of speed?
That's a good question to ask ourselves.
It is. So here's a challenge for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Think of one skill that you're currently working on.
Okay.
And ask yourself, how can you apply Samuel's approach to it? Break it down, identify the core principles, and commit to practicing with intention and focus.
I love that. And who knows, maybe we'll all achieve mastery like Samuel.
Maybe we will.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on this medieval deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And we'll see you next time for another fascinating journey.
See you then.
Bye, everyone.